Thank you. This is a massive Hezbollah rocket attack from earlier. Footage from Kiryat Shmona and the Israeli Defense Forces intercepted more Hezbollah rockets over southern Lebanon in the last hour. Hezbollah once again challenged Israel at the worst possible moment for Donald Trump's diplomatic showcase. While Trump was saying that the United States was committed to peace, the group backed by Iran showed that the hardest part wasn't signing the paper, it was making Tehran's allies obey on the ground. The attack was not just a provocation against Israel, it was a direct challenge to Trump's political influence, to the commitment made by Tehran, and to the promise that Hezbollah and the Middle East would enter a phase of relief. What was Hezbollah trying to prove by attacking at this moment? Why did Israel become the target 11 hours before the final day? How is Trump going to enforce this ceasefire if the fire keeps coming from Lebanon? I'll tell you all about it in a moment. If you like this kind of straightforward and no-nonsense content, consider subscribing because we have videos like this every day. The attack came from southern Lebanon against northern Israel, with reports of intercepted rockets and images of tension in Kiryat Shmona. The Israeli Defense Forces reported that launches crossed the border and that Israeli artillery responded against the areas where the fire originated. There was also action by Israeli fighter jets against Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon. The new development is that this happened when the region was supposed to be entering a containment mode, not an escalation. Trump had just reiterated that he expected a ceasefire complete on all fronts, and Hezbollah chose exactly this window to test whether Washington's word would mean anything on the battlefield. The provocation directly affects Israel because Kiryat Shmona symbolizes the pressure on the northern Israeli communities. The city and its surroundings had already been suffering from sirens, displacements, and attacks coming from Lebanon. That doesn't sound like an agreement that's working. It sounds risky, continuing. For Trump, this becomes an immediate problem because the American president announced peace, the market reacted, and oil prices dropped. But Hezbollah projects the opposite picture. Rockets in the sky and Israel on alert again. Trump entered this episode trying to put himself at the center of the solution. He stated that the United States is committed to peace and asked everyone in the Middle East to remain committed to allowing negotiations to move forward. His statement was calculated to show leadership. Trump also pointed out the market reaction, with oil prices falling and stocks rising, as a sign of confidence in the agreement. In practice, he tried to sell the world the idea that American strength forced Iran to pause and created an opening for stability. But Hezbollah's response on the ground shows that the agreement will not be measured only by signatures, ceremonies, or statements. It will be measured by silence on the borders. An end to the firing and a real withdrawal of armed groups. The memorandum between the United States and Iran brought Lebanon into the equation. The text negotiated by Washington calls for an end to military operations on all fronts and opens a 60-day window for the final negotiation. It also involves the Strait of Hormuz, trade flows, and the gradual withdrawal of American measures against Iranian ports. Meanwhile, Tehran makes commitments within the agreement. That's why the Hezbollah attack carries so much weight. It doesn't happen outside the agreement. It happens at the most sensitive point of the agreement. If Hezbollah keeps launching rockets, Trump needs to show that Iran has enough influence to hold back its allies, or that the United States has enough strength to impose consequences. Mojtaba Khamenei also entered the game board by admitting that he authorized the memorandum, even though he said he had a different opinion. The letter sent to the Iranians tried to shield the regime. Internally, he stated that he gave permission because he received assurances from President Masoud Pezeshkian and other members of the Supreme National Security Council that Iran's rights and those of the so-called Resistance Front would be preserved. This sentence is the key. When he talks about the Resistance Front, he is referring specifically to the network of groups aligned with Tehran, where Hezbollah plays a central role. Therefore, when Hezbollah acts in Lebanon, the growing question is simple. Was it indiscipline by the group or calculated pressure to show that the Resistance Front still wants a seat at the table? Khamenei's letter also sent a warning inside Iran. He said that future face-to-face negotiations with the United States do not mean accepting the enemy's position. This shows the regime's discomfort. Tehran tries to present the agreement as its own victory. Meanwhile, Trump presents the same agreement as a result of American pressure. This clash of versions was already expected. The problem is that when Hezbollah fires rockets, Iranian propaganda becomes more complicated. If Tehran says it has preserved the resistance front, it needs to explain why this front threatens the ceasefire at the exact moment when the regime needs to buy time and ease economic pressure. If Tehran says it controls the situation, it needs to demonstrate control. Israel responded by maintaining its security logic in southern Lebanon. The tension with Washington arises because Trump wants to end the war and push the agreement to the final stage. Meanwhile, Israel wants strong guarantees before withdrawing soldiers from areas it considers necessary to protect its population. This difference creates a delicate dispute. Trump wants a complete ceasefire. Israel wants to prevent Hezbollah from using the ceasefire to reorganize. Hezbollah wants to turn the Israeli withdrawal into a political victory. And Lebanon is caught in the middle of this tug of war. J.T. Vance emphasized the economic dimension of the agreement by highlighting the resumption of oil flow through the Strait of Hormuz. The American message is clear. With oil flowing, prices drop, markets breathe easier, and Trump sells stability as a result of strength. The American president also stated that Iran will never be able to have a nuclear weapon and celebrated the rising stock market, strong jobs, and falling prices. The Hezbollah attack disrupts this showcase because it rekindles doubts about the duration of peace. Pope Leo XIII also praised the path of dialogue between the United States and Iran and called for mutual trust in the Middle East. The Vatican's reaction gave symbolic weight to the agreement and helped Trump show that the pressure for peace went beyond American politics. Even so, the attack coming from Lebanon shows that religious praise, a lively market, and diplomatic signatures are not enough when armed groups are still operating at the border. The announced peace needs to withstand the test of rockets. Hezbollah chose to attack precisely when the world was watching the negotiation, and that's why the gesture became an affront to the agreement and to Trump himself. The challenge now is to turn the ceasefire into real order. Hezbollah doesn't want to appear defeated. Iran tries to defend its internal image while agreeing to talk with the United States. The attack against Israel, 11 hours before the final day, raises the question that most bothers Washington. Who is really in charge of this truce? The signatures of the presidents or Hezbollah's rockets? I am Milson Alves, Global, and my purpose is to keep you well informed with the truth every day. The news links are in the video description. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and at the end, take a look at the comments so you can be even more engaged with the Milson Alves community.